Hello everybody and welcome back to the British Pokemon League show. It is week numero 2, week 2, and what an insane week 1 we had. A full 6 matches, all 2-0s. I don't think anybody could have predicted that was going to happen. That's the first time that has happened since Season 1. Season 1, Week 1, funnily enough, ended the same way. And I think it's going to be a lot of that while people are getting a bit used to this new format, all these new Pokemon. I know if I, for one, half of them Pokemon, I forget their names. If anything shows anything to go by last week, I forgot Illumines, Volbeat, for the whole lot. It's a lot to take in. It is a lot to take in. We will have the sort of season preview video going up on the YouTube page next week. Got to get that all sorted along with the new intro as well. That is coming. It's just been a real busy time here in the Matt Star Studios, the bachelor life that we are living right now. But anyway, I've waffled on for a little bit too much long already. We've got some absolute corker games for you tonight on the show. 6 of the best matches. But before we get into that, let's take a quick look at the league table before we get into it. I'll just turn the music down a little bit there, it's a little bit loud. As you can see, at the top of the British Pokemon League going into week number 2, our Season 1 and Season 2 champions sitting proudly at the top of the league. Miami Heat and Inglorious Surfers both on 1-1 record. Followed closely by Draco, Swindon, Rookies, South Croydon Saws, Knights of Sidonia and Space City PC all getting those 2-0 wins in week number 1. So all making the perfect start. And Space City PC, of course, one of our newcomers in the league, making the exact start he'll have wanted to make. Making a good first impression on the guys. Unfortunately, those who lost out in week number 1, though, Wobbuffet Ninjas, the first Euro team of the British Mountain League, myself and Weo42, Mr. Hop, of course, looking to bounce back this week. Newcastle Thundurus, Long Island Goomys, Dogsy Shadow Kings, California Bastiodons, and down there at the bottom on the alphabetical basis is Tyranitar Tyrants. Of course, we are on the same record, so it just goes off head-to-heads and even across previous seasons, goes across head-to-heads and of course alphabetical order. But so those who lost out in week 1 will be looking to try and bounce back. The matches coming into this week, we've got a few spicy ones that you will see already. There's quite a few matches that are repeat matches from the past few seasons, so it'll be interesting to see, who gets the advantage in the head-to-head record. But first up off the bat, we have got the Wobbuffet Ninjas taking on Silver's Tyranitar Tyrants. Both teams losing out in week 1. Silver not exactly making the best start alive in the British Pokemon League, losing out to Draco 2-0. With a very, very interesting set of this team, so the Ninjas will have to be careful with that one. Followed up next, we have got South Croydon Saws taking on Shadow Kings. Shadow Kings, the last team to take a match off, a league match off South Croydon Saws. Obviously, Dogsy not getting a win all throughout last season, apart from week 1, and it was week 10 when he next got his second win of the season. That was against, of course, South Croydon Saws. So Crizzle looking for a little bit of revenge on that one, trying to bounce back from that defeat. And of course, Dogsy losing out in week 1 will be trying to bounce back from that defeat to Jabba. Then we have Miami Heat taking on Long Island Goomys, one of the most storied matchups, I should say, in the British Pokemon League. Latvians Miami Heat obviously getting that win in week 1 over the Wobbuffet Ninjas. The Goomys losing out to the South Croydon Saws, aforementioned. And, these two have come up against each other 4 times in the past, so it'll be interesting to see who takes this one. Up next then is Space City PC taking on Knights of Sidonia. So there's 2 unbeaten records. I know we're only in week 2, but it is an unbeaten record. Unbeaten records on the line here. Meme takes it on Jabba, both on a 1-0 record. So, either team here could leave with an early 2-0 in the season, making a perfect start, and that is what you want. We've only got 11 weeks of the season, and there's only 10 of them left, so the better start you can make, the better. But we'll see what happens there. Swindon Rookies taking on the California Bastions. Now this is a spicy one just from season 2 playoffs. Oma, obviously the team to take Swindon Rookies, then known as the Celtic Celebies, down to the losers bracket in playoffs. So Draco out to get a little bit of revenge. Obviously Oma not making a great start last week with his very interesting Steel Psychic based team. But I don't think you can underestimate Oma. The guy got 3rd place in playoffs last season for good reason, so that'll be a spicy tie. And rounding off the night, we have got Big Dog Dave's Newcastle Thundurus taking on Aaron's Inglorious Surfers. Aaron with the perfect 1-0, 2-0 start against Oma last week. Our Season 2 champion will be looking to continue that form against Dave, and They said this is another sort of matchup. These two teams have come across each other quite a few times in the past, so both Season 1 originals, so it'll be very interesting to see who takes this one. But anyways, on to our first game then. It is the Wobbuffet Ninjas taking on the Tyranitar Tyrants. We're still waiting on a logo for the Tyranitar Tyrants. Should be coming for next week's show, so just apologies for that and apologies to Silver. So yeah, both teams losing out in week 1, so not exactly what they wanted. We saw the Tyrants go for a little bit of an interesting strat versus Draco, using that auxiliary with the leftovers with protects and making use of its rest function and just trying to stall out and get those moody boosts. Unfortunately, not going the way he wanted it to with the boost, ended up getting the special defense drops, which ended in auxiliary getting absolutely slapped. But apart from that, has got a very strong team and is very sort of stall centric, I guess you could say. The sort of 3 big ones there that you regularly see in sort of like singles or and things like your Toxapex, your Registeals and things like that, and a lone executor potentially, and of course you've got the Kali Shadow as well as the Mega Gengar as well, the Silver's Mega and Legendary picks. That Kali Shadow with its of course Astral Barrage hits super hard, and you can't ignore the Airshrew Dark or the Cinderace. Cinderace, of course, with that Libero ability, can be quite a problematic mon to deal with if you let it move first. You get the wrong move selected, it goes first with something like a priority move, like a Sucker Punch, and all of a sudden you're doing no damage into the thing. Of course, always keep an eye on that Registeal. We saw, I mentioned this last week, but it's because it is such a threat. This thing gets set up and it really will start to wreck house, so the Ninjas need to be careful for that. Over on the Ninjas side then, obviously, tried to get the Trick Room set up last week with Lunala, but didn't quite work out in that game 1. Unfortunately, Alakazam able to reset that Trick Room, and once Politoed was left in and unable to get that pivot play, it just kind of fell apart for the Ninjas, and Entei just absolutely wrecked house. Once the sun went up, we were just unable to get anything going. I think potentially a bit of a wrong mon choice on our part in that one. I think something like the Sableye could have worked a lot better. But that is the way the cookie crumbles. Make your own choice. Obviously, the game 2, a few difficult, a few bad misses, and again, with the sun going up from that Volbeat, really caused a problem. So, whether the Ninjas go for that weather setting this time, knowing how it could be quite a predictable play to bring, we will have to wait and see. Of course, the Mega Swampert makes good use of that rain with its Swift Swim ability, so it's something we could see here. Of course, we have seen Lunala running with that Trick Room, but also has Hatterene as the Trick Room option on that team. Of course, you've got Melmetal and Volcanion, both big heavy hitters, but did not really able to see their potential in week 1, so maybe we'll see them come to play this time round. Of course, I already mentioned Sableye with his Prankster ability, has a good range of support moves there, and is quite a tanky little mon, for such a frail little, purple bean. This thing can tank hits real good. Serena, of course, with that Queenly Majesty and Sweet Veil ability, can be really useful as well. Boltund, Kangaskhan, and Electros rounding out that team. So quite a well-rounded team, but a very Trick Room centric team. It does have a fast mode, but I think the Ninjas are always going to be trying to get that Trick Room up. But anyways, boys and girls, without further ado, let us get into our first game. It is the Wobbuffet Ninjas taking on the Tyranitar Tyrants. Of course, the first time these two teams have met, of course, Silver's game season. The Ninjas kick things off with that Kangaskhan and the Hatterene this time. So no Lunala on the side, Volcanion, Bolt, and Sableye, Kangaskhan, and Mega Swampert. So the Kangaskhan, and Hatterene starting things off. Of course, the Kangaskhan does have that scrappy ability, so that Color Shadow with its Ghost Psychic type isn't safe on a fake out. Silver, going for that Kali Shadow and Crobat lead, has Auxiliary, Airshrew Dark, Execute Alola, and Registeal in the back. So that will be on the Ninja's mind that Registeal is kicking about it, whether Silver's brought it or just brought it to be a threat. We will wait and see, but Auxiliary as well. Sucker Punch fails on the Kangaskhan, and that's because the Kali Shadows went for a trick and strict specs onto that Kangaskhan. Cross Poison comes out from the Crobat and gets it crit, but not quite enough to take out that Hatterene. So Hatterene runs some bulk there and does manage to get the Trick Room set up. So now the Ninjas are going to need to be able to get in a position where they can pivot the Kangaskhan out and just try and get some damage across. Has got Sucker Punch and now has the choice spec, so he's lost his Chopberry over on Kali's Shadow side, so Kali Shadow can only get some damage off the rubber. The Alolan Executor swaps in though, Sucker Punch fails again, and the Calm Mind comes out from the Kali Shadow, Dex coming out from that Hatterene as well.
was about to say, Clay Shadow, at this point, if it went for an Astral Barrage, we're going to be able to do damage to the Hat Ring. Of course, it's not going to affect the Kangaskhan, but obviously, a few other moves in the Clay Shadow. So, Alluring Executor swapping field is a very interesting choice from Silver, but definitely has something to field. The Sucker Punch comes out from the Kangaskhan in it, or cause that Clay Shadow, the Alluring Executor living that Dazzling Gleam though, and it resets the Trick Room. So now the ninjas are in a bit of a spot as in comes Crobat again. Now they're going to need to get that Trick Room up again, but of course at the moment Hattery, very low in health, is not likely to live in the cross poison from Crobat, which of course Silver is going to be going for. So that Kangaskhan is now locked into that Sucker Punch move via that Spec, so really interesting tech play there from Silver. Good to see the Sucker Punch in, that Crobat doing about 30% damage and not quite enough. Protect stops that Hattery going out. In comes the rest from the Alluring Executor and gets his chest up very, so it wakes straight up and is now at a full HP, so that's a great stuff there from Silver. Really good move choice there, and item choice as well. That Harvest ability is going to allow it to, just keep resetting that berry, getting that berry back. So, the ninjas are going to need to, Oko or take this thing down in 1 turn, or it's going to just be able to just keep resting at this point, and just maintain that full HP. So, a good amount of damage there to Crobat, but the Hattery has used it to protect now, so is in a bit of a spot in terms of trying to get that Trick Room off. Going to need to do something to try and keep it in the game and keep it alive, as they're going to need that speed control. Is obviously a very slow team, apart from that Bolton there. The Bolton's could be running some speed, whether it is in that team before we'll get to find out. It is advantage to the ninjas, and in comes Sableye, the cross poison comes out. The ninjas just allowing the sort of free switch, and the sleep powder comes out from the Alluring Executor on that Sableye as sleep now. The ninjas now able to make that free switching, but at what cost is that Trick Room's gone down, as now in comes the Kangaskhan. Good use of the switch there, allows it to use another move at the very least. It does have that, as we said, that choice specs item, so is in a bit of a spot. Ninjas need to be careful not to click Fake Out or Protect or something like this. Specs are online, but it ends up locked into a non-damaging move, which is not what they want. Gonna have to be broken for that Sableye to get that 1-turn wake-ups. Crobat and the Alluring Executor just being sat there for 3 turns now with no real damage going down. Obviously that Executor using that rest. The Toxic comes out from the Crobat, and there's the double edge into the Alluring Executor, doing a little bit of recoil damage. Skill Swap now comes out from the Alluring Executor, so that's another great move choice there from Silver. It's going around to get that Prankster rest up now. So unless the ninjas are able to take this thing out, it's going to keep being able to do that, and now on a countdown time with that Kangaskhan, that Toxic Poison is now in, because the Registeel Sableye does now wake up, gets that last switch up, and there's the Cross Poison, and the Crobat gets up, that double edge does take out the Crobat. Is now a 2v3, that Kangaskhan very, very close to going down for that Toxic Poison now, so slowly but surely chipping away, and this is not what the ninjas will want to see. You've got to rest Alluring Executor, you're able to spam rest, and this Registeel that could just kind of start setting amnesias and their iron defenses at this point, and I don't know what the ninjas want to do to sort of chip away at its health. And the ninjas now aware that the Alluring Executor has Toxic, has skill swaps, so there's some good information that comes out from that Registeel. There's the double edge into the Alluring Executor, but the recoil does take out the Kangaskhan, and Sleep Powder comes out again on that Sableye, so Sableye is back to sleep as now in comes Volcanion to try and get some damage down and maybe try and take out this Registeel. And see the Volcanion is fire water type, that dual type, so if the ninjas are running fire move, and Volcanion might be able to get something away on that Registeel and try and take it out, because the last thing I want is this thing to set up. Sableye stays asleep. There's the Toxic from the Registeel though, so another one with Toxic and not quite being taken out by that Fire Blast. Neither's rest comes out once again. Harvest brings that berry back, it wakes straight up from the sleep, and now that Alluring Executor can just sit and comfortably just wait, and it's another one on a timer now with that Volcanion poisoned. Sableye's asleep. At the very least it means Sableye can't be poisoned. This is great play there from Silver, great spell play, showing his skill as the Fire Blast into the Alluring Executor. Does get his Trick Room up now. The Harvest goes off to bring that berry back as well. The Fire Blast into that Alluring Executor, not quite enough to take it out. Gonna need the hope that Sableye can wake up this time. Gets some damage. It's 2 times. So the rest comes out again from the Lowland Executor. They're very busy, and there's the Fire Blast again, just maybe trying to. Just hoping that the rest doesn't go off, I guess, as the body press of the Volcanion and that poison slowly chipping away. Maybe aiming for a crit from that Fire Blast or something, just anything to take it out, stop it from just healing itself. But the rest comes out again on turn number 12. This thing just won't go down. The ninjas must be beside themselves as the Fire Blast misses. That's not what they wanted. There is the Nightshade from the Sableye. It finally wakes up with the Register protected that time. Volcanion slowly but surely going down into go down this next time from that poison damage. Obviously nowhere to undo that poison damage. It's going to go down this time. It's going to be left all up to Sableye in the 2v1 potentially. And see where still just bent for protect, so we're still at risk of going down to a move here. And see the ninjas have revealed the shade is on that Sableye, of course doing damage equivalent to the other one's level. So regardless of stat drops, it's a good move choice right there on Sableye. This Volcanion is going to have to get something though. If the Sableye will any kind of taunt or disable or on-call, something like on-call is not what you want at the current moment, but just for it to be able to do something, triggering up for another 2 times, I would think this Register is slower than Volcanion and potentially Sableye as well, so this is not a good spot for the ninjas to be in their Trick Room centric team. So we're on to 10, number 13. There's skill swap from the Lowland Exec does get the crit, but it doesn't quite go out, and the Toxic comes out from the Registeel, and now that Sableye is also on the time of Volcanion goes down, it's poison, and that Sableye now poisons the Registeel down. This is now a 1v1. A Lowland Executor hanging on for dear life at 3% HP. It uses the rest again, because of course it does, to stay around, and now the Sableye has got an absolute job on its hand. Trick Room goes down, and all the ninjas can do is just hit Nightshades and hope to God that they can do something. But the disable comes out from the Sableye, so that the Lowland Executor now cannot rest at the moment. It has set up Trick Room now, but no resting allowed. Has been banned. Sableye says no skill swap comes out alone, so it doesn't matter if there's any damaging moves on the Lowland Executor. So Silver just trying to wait it out and hope that Toxic Poison is going to be enough to take it out, or at least hope that the Disable runs out before that the Sableye can take it out. And it's just skill swap moves like there's the Nightshade, takes it down to 26% HP. Toxic comes out on the Sableye. This is going to be so close. The Nightshade's doing about 25% damage. Is it going to be enough? Is there any way that it can do it? What's going to happen here? On 10, number 18, 1v1, the skill swap comes out, of course, that Lowland Executor can't do anything. There's the Nightshade, it's on 1% HP, the Toxic takes out the Sableye, and the Tyrants take game number 1. Absolutely sensational stuff. The Lowland Executor in a 1v1, living on 1% HP. Could you get any closer? As we lead into game 2, it is the same leads for both coaches. Wow, what a game 1. So the ninja's going to have to try and do something a little bit differently this time around. And now knows that there's a hell of a lot of Toxic running around in Silver's team, so might be an idea to be able to keep the Hatterene around, potentially block those poisons and bounce them back, or try and get a disable or potentially a taunt that's running out earlier, and just stop the rests and the taunts, the Toxics from coming out. There's the pick up from the Kangaskhan onto the Kali Shadow. Cross Poison into the Hatterene, not doing as much as time, no crits, as there's the Trick Room does go up. So speed control on the ninja's side. That's what they want. Protect comes out from that Kangaskhan as a Registeel swaps in the Dazzling Gleam. That's a great switch in from Silver, stops that Kali Shadow from going down. The Cross Poison is going to take Hatterene, so the ninjas they've lost their Trick Room setup, but they have now got a free switch in, so they'll be holding the Volcanion and can do enough damage this time. Kangaskhan obviously not going where to go outside the Trick Room as a full class one. The Protect comes out from that Registeel Fire Blast is blocked by that Protect. There's the double edge into the Crobat. Crobat just hanging on though. There is the Toxic from the Crobat as well. And again, here comes the timer. How long can this Volcanion go with this poison damage now? And it's going to try and get as much damage as it can, just to negate its damage that's taking much time. Looks like Sucker Punch is about to come out. Can you catch it? No, maybe not. about to say, so coach about no potential come out from that kind of scan. Just changing their mind on that one. Register isn't Register going to go for a toxic poison as well as potentially going to go for a body press, getting away from super effective against that kind of scan. Could start potentially setting up on that Register as well. There's a host of options Silver's got in his arsenal now. He could, if Crobat's able to live another time, allows him to get another toxic off and slowly but surely just chip away at this team. That's why his team just being so bulky just allows him to do that. The Kali Shadow switches, and that's another great switch on from Silver there as well. That double edge is, if it is a supplement, is still going to have the body press though. It's going to take out the Kangaskhan, the Fire Blast, not quite taking out the Registeel, and there's a bit more toxic damage from the Volcanion. There's now a 2v4 Saberline Volcanion versus the World, and this is not looking too good for the Ninjas. Tyrants seem to be taking this one quite helpfully, so the Kangaskhan not able to lift that body press will not have been what you wanted to see. Trick Room being at the end of the Kangaskhan with a long haul. Could have maybe played that one a little bit more patiently with the attacks, but trying to get as much damage down as possible while that Volcanion is just on the ticking clock. As now the Lord Executor swaps in again. There's the Steam Eruption. It resists again, another great switch in, and there's the Toxic from the Registeel Nightshade is going to take it out, so at least save like it's only done. But now both of these mons now on a time, and all Silver needs to do is just sort of weather the storm and take the hits, and I don't know that either of these mons can do the 2v3 at this point. Volcanion potentially has enough damage output to be able to some of the ones over there is the Quash and the Crobat and the Fire Blast. The Alolan Executor doesn't quite do enough. Skill Swap comes out on that Alolan Executor that swaps the Prankster around, and there is the Tailwind from Crobat, and that is not what I want to see. Speed Control well and truly on the Silver side. Still got no Sableye as well, so cannot go for that Quash again to stop that Crobat from getting kind of on himself. You can see what he's trying to do there, stop doing kind of status or something there. There's the rest from the Alolan Executor, although it's burying back awake. It comes as Jill Wingbeat. Is it going to take out the Volcanion? Not quite, but the poison damage is going to take out Disable. Comes out from the Alolan Executor. There's Steam Eruption to take out the Crobat, but it's not going to be enough as the Volcanion goes down and Sableye gets inches closer and closer to half health, and that Kali Shadow, of course, still kicking around their back. The Tyrants are going to take this one, and what an absolutely phenomenal match this has been. Silver's played this one like an absolute blinder. Great stall play there from Silver, and just the Ninjas with absolutely no answer to it. What a close game one. That was just, it could have went either way there. Astro Barrage is going to get it done. Silver takes this one 2-0, and what a start to the show, boys and girls. Unbelievable, Jeff, as they would say on a certain Sky Sports show. GG's to Silver. Honestly, had so much fun playing in that one. That I said that game one so close. Like, if there was a tiny bit more damage on that Alolan Executor, or those Nightshades would have done enough, but it's just to say hung on. And yeah, it just had no way to stop those rests going. Well, I mean, I did have a way to stop the rests going off. Just was trying to get damage done beforehand and just zoned in on that. But not to take anything away from Silver's win at all. He played that superbly and fully merited the win. So great stuff there from Silver. Bounces back from that week 1 defeat, and the Ninjas' search for a win goes on. But onto our second game of the week then. It is the Shadow Kings taking on South Croydon Saws. So as we mentioned earlier in the show, Shadow Kings the last team to hand the Saws a league defeat, week 10 of season 2. A very close one with that, and that means these two go into this one with a head-to-head record tied up at 1 apiece. As you can see, Crizzle's South Croydon Saws winning in week 1 over the Long Island Goomys, and Shadow Kings losing out to Jabba's Knights of Sidonia. Whether Crizzle's going to bring that Kyogre back, I don't know. Is he going to be too ashamed to bring it back after it was taken out by that Kamala? And absolutely one of the highlight moments of the British Pokemon League. What a moment that was. Silly can at least take that from that game. But onto Crizzle's team. Of course, have that Mega Aggron, which we saw quite a bit of last week, to clean up the pieces. And Whimsicott and Indeedee proving a very strong duo, so something dogs are going to have to be careful of there. Potentially can get Expanding Force spammed there. And Whimsicott can do all sorts of shenanigans with his prankster ability. Didn't see anything of Mamoswine or Hydreigon last week, but they could come this week and maybe work. they work pretty well into some of the ones on Dogsy's side. Of course, that has that Raichu as well with the lightning rod ability. So, and of course in this gen, in this format, I mean, it does get Follow Me. So of course, along with Fake Out, gets the Follow Me, gets a Helping Hand. So Raichu quite a strong support man this time around. And of course with Torracat, Weezing and Honchcrow as well, may look to use that Weezing to, maybe negate that Mega ability on that Mega Kangaskhan side. Over on the side of Shadow Kings, very, very close to getting the win last week. Yeah, it looked like he had game 1 nailed in the bag, but Jab obviously able to, pull it out with the Mega Lucario. And game 2 was just unfortunate that the Trick Room got set up, so Dogsy very, very close to that win and looking very, very solid. I think there's such a strong team there and a lot of different things it can do. Of course, with that Illumies as well, with his Prankster ability, has access to Tailwind and a host of other status moves as well that can make it a real big problem. Greninja as well, with its Protein ability, similar to Cinderace's Libero, changes typing to the move it's just used, can be a super useful tool in that arsenal. Of course, Gastrodon as well, with its Storm Drain, may put Krizzle off from using that Kyogre, doesn't want to buff that Gastrodon's special attack, and a few mons on that Shadow Kings team that can potentially make use of a Surf or something to buff that special attack on the Gastrodon side. And we haven't seen anything of Ditto yet, so is this the one where Dogsy brings the Ditto? If he can maybe get a copy on that Mega Aggron or the Kyogre, or even something like a support man in there, could end up really, really working in his favour. But I'm going to stop waffling. Let's get straight into this one. This ought to be an absolute cracker. This is a rematch from what I said, week 10 of last season. Krizzle hoping to get some revenge. Let's take a look into this one. And there we go. Then the 6 mons Dogsy has is the Illumies, the Beartic, the Ninja, Gastrodon, Kangaskhan, and the Crozmet. On Krizzle's side, his wins got Conkeldurr, Hydreigon, Torracat, Weezing, and Raichu. So no Mega this time, and no Legendary. So gone with the Conkeldurr and the Raichu. Conkeldurr potentially winning that Guts ability, able to get that attack boost from potentially a Bernhard, but obviously the Bernhard burns the one and gets the attack boost from that. And the Whimsicott is running in the side there, so obviously not in the forefront, but may have that in the back to fight, so a support there in the late game. Interested to see what his fourth one is. I presume it will be Hydreigon, but we will wait and see. Dogsy leading around that Mega Kangaskhan and the Ninja. Raichu is faster than Kangaskhan, so it's going to be a tale of whether Dogsy chooses to protect this Mega Kangaskhan and stop that fake out from going off, or whether he potentially goes for a switch out. Again, that fake out, and he does go for the switch out as in comes Gastrodon now, but that comes out from that Conkeldurr. There's the fake out from Raichu, goes in that Gastrodon, and the Surf from the Greninja changes type into water and does proc that Storm Drain on the Gastrodon, gives it that special attack boost, and there is the Flame Orb procking the Guts and that Conkeldurr. So Krizzle with a very angry, very scary looking Conkeldurr that obviously is quite a slow one, so not trickery one. So Dogsy does have a bit of speed over it, he's able to get something done. That Surf doing a little bit of chip damage there with Raichu as well, taking down just about half HP, but that Gastrodon could start getting very scary if Krizzle's not able to deal with it. See, Gastrodon is water ground, so it only has the one weakness, but it is 4 times weakness to grass. As the Thunderbolt comes out into the Greninja able to hang on, and the Surf comes out again. Storm Drain getting blocked and doing some good damage there to both mons. And that Mach Punch not quite doing enough to Gastrodon, and the Air Power from Gastrodon able to take out that Raichu, so it is advantage to Dogsy in this game 1. Some good stuff there, some really great switch-ins from Dogsy. Knew exactly how he wanted to play that one, getting the Surf off, and then allowing the Gastrodon to make full use of that Storm Drain. There's now Whimsicott switches in for Krizzle. We saw last week he did run Energy Ball, a bit of a an oddball move on this thing, but this is Draft League, and it's something you don't see sort of stereotypical set in these ones. Could be very scary for Gastrodon if it is about to come out again. That it's not the bulkiest and scariest looking one in the world, Whimsicott, but an Energy Ball and 4 times weak to Grass one is going to be really hard. Gastrodon, the more get set up, the more scary, and the Crozmet switches in for that Greninja, the Mach Punch. Just being completely resistant by the Crozmet, so that's a great switch from Dogsy. The Energy Ball does come out to take out that Gastrodon there as well, so he missed that at the end there. So great stuff there from Crizzle is now in. Comes the Kingston, we are tied at the at 3 on sides. That burns all we do in chip damage 11 comes there as well, so Crizzle needs to keep that in mind. He's potentially going to want to try and protect this time just to stop block that fake out from the Mega Kingston. We saw last week running that power air with meteor beam, so it's something we see again from Dogsy, you know, just with that special attack and that meteor beam able to do good damage regardless. Can we over some again? There's the fake out blocked by a double protect. There's Heatwave comes out from that Necrozma, also blocked by that double protect. To be fair, it's Heatwave, it probably would have missed one or the other. This is Pokemon Showdown after all. So then doing a little bit more chip damage rate for the guys. The only risk with the double protect there and getting no damage off is Mega King Sans. What's that as Greninja comes back in, Tailwind comes out from the Whimsicott. Drain Punch is going to take out the Greninja and they're going to get a tiny bit of health back. And there's the Photon Geyser from the Necrozma, and that takes out the Conkeldurr, and it's 2 apiece. Just a good trade-off there from for Dogsy. Tying things up as Mega King Sans comes back in, and in comes the Hydreigon. There's Hydreigon being released, the final one for Crizzle. So incredibly close game to kick this one off. Necrozma really putting in the work in this late game. Dogsy going to have to be careful and allow that Hydreigon to potentially go for a nasty block. Just something you do regularly see on the Hydreigon. Coaches deciding what to do. Just turn the music down. It's possible that my mic's back on. The Faker comes out into the Hydreigon and stops it from doing it. There's the Dazzling Gleam doing a little bit of chip damage. The flinch comes off in the Hydreigon. There is the Meteor Beam from the Necrozma. Is that going to take a Hydreigon out? It is! And the Necrozma takes it out, and it is now all left up to Whimsicott to get this one done. And I don't know that it's got the damage output to be able to take out both here. There's the Energy Ball and the Kangaskhan not really touching it. There's the Fire Punch. Hitting twice thanks to that ability from Mega Kangaskhan. Dogsy takes this first one and the 1-0 lead in the match. Great stuff there from both coaches. What an incredibly close game. Really clutch stuff there from the Dogsy in the end there with those switch-ins. And Crizzle's changing things up, going for the Hydreigon and the Raichu lead this time. Dogsy's sticking with his guns. You know, as we said last week, you know, it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Mega Kingscan and Greninja lead the line, so whether Dogsy's going to potentially go for that switch out again, we will certainly see. The screen freeze there. I would imagine not going to reveal that. No, sorry, not reveal that. But not go for it again. Just air off the realm of being predictable. Dogsy knows that Raichu is going to be faster than his Kangaskhan, so obviously can't go for that fake out on the Hydreigon because he's liable to get fake out at first. So going to need to do something potentially. You know, we saw Greninja run that taunt last week. Greninja switches out, in comes the Illumies. Mega Kangaskhan goes to Mega, gets fake out, so just lets it happen. There's the nasty plot from the Hydreigon, and now this Hydreigon is looking very, very scary. Dogsy going to have to get the speed control up with that Illumies, get that Tailwind off. Try and do something about it, as that Hydreigon is going to be able to just run around and follow me. Comes out from that Raichu. There is the Tailwind, but the follow me is going to, the double edge is going to take out the Raichu, but there is the damage from the recoil, and Kangaskhan taken out by the Hydreigon as well. So a good trade there from Crizzle, but now the follow me one has at least gone on Crizzle's side, so can maybe try and get something done with that Hydreigon this time around. Choosing to run with the Illumies this time, so changing things up on Dogsy's end. Deciding when they want to switch in, taking the time with this one 10 number 2. It feels like we've already had so much happen. In comes the Whimsicott, and the Necrozma now switches in on the side of Dogsy. So Dogsy obviously has the speed control, so it's going to need to get rid of the Hydreigon ASAP. You know, the Hydreigon is going to have a Dark Pulse, and that Necrozma is not going to enjoy taking one of those. I will tell you that for free. See, Illumi is not known for its damage output, so potentially only really has the Necrozma and another one. The Greninja able to do. The Greninja does switch in. There's the Tailwind, so Crizzle setting up his own Tailwind. Dark Pulse, sure, Greninja just about hanging on from that. There's the Struggle Bug from the Illumies. That's going to drop the special attack on Whimsicott and the Hydreigon, but it's still got a a bit of buff to its special attack, so I've got to watch out for that. You're taking a big hit there, you know, even though it resisted that Dark Pulse, it still took it down to 9% HP, so it somehow hung on through that. Tailwind up on both sides, 3 times after on Crizzle, 2 times after Dogsy, and Criz can potentially just try and stall out this Tailwind for number 10, and you know, he's going to have full speed control. Time, but it's going to need to take care of that. Illumi's extra sensory comes out from the Greninja. Hang on, there's the Dazzling Gleam that takes out Greninja, and now it is all up to Illumi. Illumi's taken out by that Dragon Pulse, and now it is a 1v4 for Necrozma. 1v3, sorry. Grizzle really taking the game this time around with that Hedgehog gun. Once that nasty block got set up, he was in Doug's in a really big spot. There's the Energy Ball doing a little bit of chip damage, but then Dark Pulse going to get the job done, and Crizzle ties us up at 1 apiece. We've our first game 3 of season 3 of the British Pokemon League, and of course it had to beat this game. These two really going at a hammer and tongs to try and get the win. Dogsy going back to that, you know, all fearful again with the Kangaskhan and the Ninja, and Crizzle, like Dogsy, just sticking with his guns. It worked in game 2, so going for the same setup again. As I said, we know that Raichu is faster than the Kangaskhan, and can just sort of freely get a nasty plot set up to boost its special attack.
So that could be something that Dogsy's got to work around. The Mega Kangaskhan goes on, but Raichu going for the fake out to Greninja this time, and fake out from the Mega Kangaskhan gets the crit as well off the second hit, and no nasty plot from that Hydreigon, and then well, not a lot happened that first turn, did it? Oh dear. Yeah, not a lot happening at all that first turn. 2 fake outs, 2 flinches, no one really doing much damage, and we sit in turn 2, all 4 mons still kicking about. 69%, yeah. I imagine this game 3 is going to go right to the wire. These two both wanting the win real bad. Obviously Crizzle looking out for that revenge from last season, and Dogsy aiming to get that first win on the board for season 3. You know, as we said last week, had a bit of a nightmare in season 2. Not really able to get anything going even after the mid-season break. So looking for a much stronger finish like we saw in season 1. No speed control going up just yet on either side. Of course, both speed control ones potentially still sitting in the back. I would imagine Chris has brought the Whimsicott again. Taking their time, trying to get in each other's heads. This is the sort of time where you've got to take it just to make sure you hit the right notes. The Thunderbolt comes out into the Greninja, and the Greninja goes down. There's Dark Pulse into the Kangaskhan. That's still some good damage despite there being no boost. Double Edge is going to take out that Raichu. That recall damage is going to do another big more chunk to that Kangaskhan. So again, a trade-off there, but Kangaskhan with some really big damage now, down on 20% HP, is now Conkeldurr switches in, and Illumis switches in for Dogsy. So Dogsy going for that support mon again, and you know, hoping his Mega Kangaskhan and Necrozma and Greninja can get the job done around it. You know, that's all you need if you've got a good support mon. As long as you've got good damage output around it, you don't need to worry too much. Kangaskhan switches out as in comes Necrozma. There is the Tailwind Mach Punch. So seeing that the Mach Punch was coming and knew it was going to do big damage, switches in Necrozma, and of course resists it. But the Hydreigon does get the nasty plot off. Tailwind though is up for Dogsy, so Dogsy does now have full speed control. Knows he can go for a Photon Geyser into that Conkeldurr. So Conkeldurr in a little bit of a spot here, but there is the protect from the Conkeldurr. Struggle Bug comes out, that is going to drop the special attack, but you know, we saw how much the Dark Pulse did last time. Meteor Beam comes out from that Necrozma. Is it going to take it out? It is going to take out the Hydreigon, so gets rid of it, and now is advantage Dogsy. It is 3v2, Necrozma getting that special attack boost from the Meteor Beam as well. And that the Power Headband can do it in one turn. As in comes the Whimsicott. So it's Whimsicott and Conkeldurr to take on the world. Of course, Whimsicott can get a Tailwind of its own this time round. Whether that's going to do enough to enable Conkeldurr to be faster than Necrozma, I don't know. Does of course have that burn, which is triggering its Guts ability, so boosting its attacks, those Mach Punches. That's why Dogsy did the switch in, knew that Mach Punch was going to really hurt. Dogsy in a very good spot, has got advantage, still has a Mega Kangaskhan. So there's the Kangaskhan from the Tailwind from Crystal's side. Bottom Geyser comes out, there it goes into the Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr taken out, and now is Whimsicott with it all up to do in this final game, and this looks to be Dogsy's for the taking. Special attack drop on that Whimsicott as well. Dazzling Glade really not doing anything. Struggle comes out again to drop that special attack further. There is the Heat Wave from Necrozma, and Dogsy Shadow Kings wins out again against Crizzle's South Croydon Saws. Unbelievable stuff. Our first game 3 had to be a crack. I said had to be that game. Both really wanted that win. I've said, of course, Dogsy wanted that first win this season. Crizzle wanted to, get back at Dogsy for tarnishing that record last season. And really great game from the guys. Really enjoyed that one. Necrozma. Dogsy's already spoken about this. I dished on Necrozma last week. I said it was a pretty low tier mon and wasn't too sure why I picked it. Dogsy fully proved me wrong, proving how good this Necrozma is. With that power herb, the meteor beam, buffing a special attack, it's just able to get so much work done. And with that Illumies next to it, getting that tailwind set up, is just, with speed control, it's able to just do so much work, so much damage. So GG's to both coaches, and great stuff from Dogsy getting his first win of the season. On to game number 3 of the show then, and it is a doozy. It is the Miami Heat taking on the Long Island Goomys. Long running rivalry, these two have come together to play each other quite a number of times over the last couple of seasons. Of course, also both Season 1 originals. Miami Heat, Latvian, does come into this one with a 3-1 head-to-head record. Of course, Silly took the first game in Season 1, first match, sorry. Latvian able to get the next one that season, and Latvian winning both times against Silly last season round. So that 3-1 head-to-head record. So going to take that one, and that's got to boost his confidence a bit. Of course, Latvian making the perfect start to life in Season 3. That Entei putting in the work last week against the Ninjas, enabling him to get the 2-0 win and the perfect start. That'll be what he wanted after, as said, the disappointing Season 2 performance. Of course, has his Mega Blastoise there. Mega Blastoise is just a tank. It is so bulky, and of course has Fake Out, has Follow Me, all the support moves that you need on it, and it can be such a problem. So something that Silly's going to have to watch out for, but of course does have his own Blastoise to answer its call. So we'll see what happens there. I think potentially the Indeedee Alakazam, with the Psychic Terrain, both have access to Expanding Force. Alakazam relatively fast as well. With a bit of Expanding Force spam, I think that's going to do some big damage. We saw just how much the Expanding Force in Psychic Terrain did to Silly's team last week with that Indeedee Mail on Crizzle's side. So something that Silly is going to have to be careful of, and I'm sure you'll have prep for. Entei, of course, our league's kills leader. Man, this thing did the work against the Ninjas last week. Has such a variety of moves in its arsenal. So again, Crizzle cannot overlook this thing. Has can run a physical or special build as well. So a good move choice, mon choice on that side. That Volbeat as well. We've just had Illumies. We've got Volbeat. It's very much the same thing. Flying Bug with Prankster ability, can get that Prankster Tailwind. We saw last week has Prankster Weather as well that can really use it to advantage. And rounding out the team, we've got Ambipom, Slacking, Sork, Emolga, and Manectric. Do wonder whether we'll see that Emolga and Manectric duo at some point potentially in this game, with Silly having a few electric weaknesses. Emolga able to sit next to Manectric, get those discharges off, and buff that Lightning Rod ability on the Manectric. Well, on the side, the Goomys then has the Mega Salamence. So Mega Salamence, we didn't really get to see his potential last week. It kind of got answered by that Whimsicott pretty damn hard. So that was a bit disappointing to see, but I'm sure that Silly will have bounced back with a good idea for it this week. Silly the king of meme teams, as we like to say, but that's not to discredit him at all. Silly is a solid player. Didn't exactly have the Season 2 he wanted, but this team is looking really strong. Unfortunately, didn't quite have the answer for Crizzle last week. I said that the Expanding Force spam from that Indeedee Mail really putting in the work against his team. And, spread moves really don't lend itself too well when you're trying to set up a Geomancy on that Xerneas. Even with the Follow Me on the Blastoise, not going to make too much difference when it's hitting both mons. As we just mentioned, that Blastoise does have the Follow Me, so I said you would think be looking to go for that Expanding Force moves on both his Psychic mons. Seeing how well it did versus Silly last week, but we will certainly see. Of course, the Empoleon and Breloom as well, both really strong Pokemon. Breloom, of course, does have that 4x flying weakness, but is a really strong support mon in its own right. And Empoleon, I just love Empoleon. I think this thing is such a great mon. Steel Water typing, such an awkward typing to deal with, but it's just such a bulky dude. Arcanine as well, which we saw last season on Jabba's side. That Arcanine as well has got quite a bit of bulk to it, and of course with that Intimidate ability, drop the physical attack of the opposing mons. And of course, Silly has the parent this time, so no Fletchling, but has the Talonflame. So didn't see it last week, but maybe look to get that speed control up this time with that Gale Wings, enabling to use priority Tailwind. Kamala as well. Will we see Kamala again? I would imagine it'll definitely be in that team of 6. Kamala will be sitting there just having a little doze, having a little snooze while Chaos is around him. Rounding out the team, of course, got Carbink, Oricorio, and that Wormadam Sandy. We're going to see these Frimons at some point. It's silly. I can guarantee you we're going to see it. So it's not a matter of when. It's a matter of will it happen. It's a matter of when will it happen. Anyways, guys, let's get into this one. Long Island Goomys taking on the Miami Heat. And there you go. On Silly side, you can see the Mega Solomon's Blastoise, Xerneas, Talonflame, Arcanine, and Empoleon. On that side, leading out the line with Volbeat and Blastoise, has the Entei, the Giratina, Emolga, and Manectric in the side. So that Emolga Manectric duo is in there. So maybe Latvian got that in the back to try and use one of the tricks up his sleeve. Volbeat though, with its pranks ability, maybe look to get some speed controls. Blastoise does Mega. It does prove that it's faster than Silly's Blastoise. Gets that fake out, and the trick comes out from the Volbeat. So the Power Herb gone from that Xerneas, so not able to get that Geomancy in the 110, and getting the safety goggles. Meanwhile, Volbeat gets that Power Herb, so Silly's gonna have to wait a time for that Geomancy to go off and hope that it can, tank a hit from that Mega Blastoise. A Water Spout is gonna really hurt from that thing. So I've got to be careful with that. Silly with his own Water Spout as well. As long as it keeps a good chunk of HP, can get that work done. But Silly is locked into that Geomancy now. Xerneas can't switch it out, can't choose another move. Just got to go for it and hope that Xerneas can tank the hit. You'd question maybe whether to go for a Follow Me on the Blastoise just so that Volbeat doesn't get any sort of, any moves off on the Xern. But it's not going to stop that Water Spout from hurting the Xerneas, so we need to hope there's some special bulk there in the Xerneas. Or that it, at the very least, is faster than the Blastoise, so the Geomancy goes off. And Geomancy does go off, so it's going to get the special defense buff, speed buff, and special attack buff, and Water Spout into that Xern. Thanks to that special defense buff is going to allow it to tank that hit. Struggle Bug comes out, and that's going to drop the special attack a little bit on the Xerneas, but that's still quite a buffed up Xerneas right there. Follow Me from the Blastoise as well. I like meaning that it has its own special attack drop. Of course, both moves there from that, both spread moves, so it wouldn't have really mattered. But as I said, had to go for it just in case that Volbeat had any shenanigans up its sleeve. But a good start from both teams. Said Silly now does have that Geomancy set up, so has the speed on that Xern. It's about to go real fast. There's the Tailwind from the Volbeat, but it's not going to matter. As a Dazzling Gleam, Xerneas is still faster. Water Spout going to do not anywhere near as much, but does get the critical hit. There's a Water Spout from Silly's side, and the critical hit on his side as well. So the critical hit for critical hit trade off there. Volbeat just about hanging on, but no, that's a good Water Spout damage there from Latvian's Blastoise. Thought it was going to take out the Xerneas there, but that Dazzling Gleam doing really, really big damage, and it's still faster even after the Tailwind. So Blastoise versus Blastoise, exactly. Xern putting in the work so far, said tanking those Water Spout hits. Knows it's faster. I think another Dazzling Gleam is going to be enough to take out both mons on that side here, and then Lat is in one hell of a position. Has got the 2v4 and has got a Xern and a Blastoise facing him. Damn, there's a Dazzling Gleam, and it does indeed take out the both mons. Volbeat taking a critical hit there, not like it mattered with 6% HP, it was always going down. Of course, Water Spout not going off. The Blastoise now in comes Entei and Manectric, 2 times of Tailwind, still up for Latvian as well, so can take that into account. Entei does have that extreme speed in its move pool, so Lat could potentially look to do that. Manectric, I'm guessing is very much just the Blastoise answer at this point, but it depends how that Blastoise is set up. It seems to be tanking those special hits pretty good, so looks to be pretty specially defensive on Silly's side. Of course, Entei not going to enjoy taking a Scald or a Water Spout from that Blastoise, but at least can take comfort that it's going to go first. extreme speed, but he does, and there it takes it down to 30% HP. Follow Me comes up. Follow Me goes out after the Dazzling Gleam, after the extreme speed. Aerial Impulse into that Blastoise, so great use of Follow Me, and the Dazzling Gleam taking Manectric down with Sash, not really doing a whole much to that Entei. That Entei just really bulking out that attack. But this is looking a very good position for Silly, about to take Entei down for what will be a 1v4. That extreme speed doing a good amount of damage, but I can't believe it went for Follow Me, which is crazy. Priority brackets work weird in this game. You missed your match, Crizzle. It was just done beforehand. We're just done Silly versus Lat. There's extreme speed into the Zen, and the critical hit enough to take it out. Follow Me not going to do enough. The flamethrower though does enable it to live that hit. So Blastoise down to 20% HP, but that big damage deal Zen is down as now. In comes Arcanine with that intimidating focus on the Entei, blocking any stat drops. Not that it would matter too much for that Entei. But Silly now knows how much damage that extreme speed's doing. I think an extreme speed in that Blastoise is going to be enough to take it out. So, you know, Latvian slowly clawing his way back. That Entei getting the kills again. This thing is such a beast. You know, I think maybe a lot of people might have underappreciated just how good a Monda's Protect comes out from Blastoise. Seeing that extreme speed's coming, so good protection there from Silly. There's the Snarl. He's going to take out the Manectric and drop the special attack of that Entei. Not that it's going to matter too much, but it's now a 1v3 for Entei. Entei with it all to do now, and those Snarls coming out that Arcanine not only doing a little bit of chip damage, but on his extreme speed there, it does take out the Blastoise, and the Snarl coming off, and Arcanine it misses the Entei. I said not that it matters good too much. I think there's a physical Entei now, and Empoleon lines up on the fields. It's 1v2. Empoleon though does have type advantage over this Entei. You know, any kind of water move's going to do. The Snarl misses again on that Entei. There's the Sacred Fire looking for that burn. Just quite a lot of damage to that Empoleon. The Entei goes down to 9% HP. This one is going to be game. Silly about to take this one. Any kind of move there from his side, and it takes out the Entei with the Snarl from the Arcanine, and so it's advantage Silly over Latvian. So it's something we've not seen since season 1, as he leads the line with a Mulligan Manectric in this game too. So seeing that the Blastoise is going to potentially come with that facility again, you know, can go for that discharge and do a bit of damage to that Blastoise. But you know, no Volbeat this time, so that Xerneas going to be able to get the Geomancy set up straight away. Blastoise is just going to be able to freely go for Follow Me, and of course Discharge is going to hit all mons on the field, but I don't know whether that Emolga is going to be able to get any damage out, but with it being a special attack, that Xerneas is going to get the Geomancy up, and it's going to just completely bulk that attack. You know, Manectric is going to get the Lightning Rod boost, but Manectric is a pretty damn frail mon, so we saw how easily he was taken down with Sash in that previous game, so Lat has got to be careful. Now I've repeated that game 1 was it very quickly went down to a 2v4. You know, he did almost bring it back. Much credit when that Entei really strong. There's the fake out though, stops any attacks on that Manectric. There's the Geomancy getting set up from the Zen. Gets his special attack, special defense and speed buff. Discharge comes out, does get the Lightning Rod boost to Manectric, but not doing very much at all to Zen or Blastoise. Both just tanking that hit, and that's not what Latvian want to see. That fake out as well, breaking that Sash on the Manectric. So both Manectric and Emolga in a hell of a spot now. That Xerneas Dazzling Gleam is going to do a lot of damage. Falling because of the Blastoise, there's the Dazzling Gleam, and it takes out both. Manectric and Emolga goes down. The Xerneas just putting in the work for Silly this matchup, and Latvian really now in a spot as Entei and Giratina come into play. Latvian choosing to bring his Legendary this time, so no Volbeat this time, no support. That Mega Blastoise as well, staying at home. But he saw how well Entei did the last game, you know. Those extreme speeds, priority, just getting that damage off. But nowhere to drop any stats, you know, no struggle bug in that Illumis. Can Giratina tank a hit from the Xerneas? Falling because of the Blastoise, there's the Dazzling Gleam. Giratina just about hangs on. It does proc a weakness policy in that Giratina. There is the crunch on the Blastoise. You know, Follow Me really working out. An Iron Head into the Blastoise as well. Follow Me really helping out. And just Xerneas is just able to sit there and just, you know, stoically look at Latvian's mons and just do all the work. Blastoise down to 40% HP. This is looking like it's about to be wrapped up like a Christmas present with a Blunt off for Silly. Is he about to get revenge? Extreme Speed is going to take out the Blastoise, but the Xerneas is going to be faster anyway. Giratina goes down to that Dazzle Gleam. Entei just about hanging on at 40% HP, and it's a 1v3. This is going to be game. So Silly gets us one on the board, and Latvian, after making such a good start week 1, is going to lose out in a 2-0 fashion. Brave Bird takes out the Entei, and Silly takes this one in a 2-0 fashion. So Latvian taking his first loss of the season, Silly getting his first win of the season. What a game for Xerneas. That was absolutely phenomenal stuff from Silly. Really played that well. I think Lat maybe could have done with bringing the Alakazam and Indeedee, but I think Lat played it as well as he could, and just maybe didn't see the follow me and the Blastoise coming in and being such a nuisance. But GG's to both players. I'm sure Lat will come back from a bang. He does not like losing, does this guy? Not in a bad way. It's not that he's a bad loser or a sore loser or anything, but when he loses, he comes back with revenge. So I'm expecting a strong week 3 performance out of Latvian, and congrats to Silly on getting the first win as well. I will let the lock show, Aaron. Don't worry. Just now's not the time. It's a bit flat from hat hair today. On to game number 4 then. It is Space City PC taking on the Knights of Sidonia. Both of these teams getting the win in week 1. Of course, both yet to face each other. Space City, one of the new teams in the league. It is the battle of the circle logos, the circle badges this time around. Both teams with a very rotund badge. But as I said, both making the 1-0 start. Can we just say just how strong this Groudon and Mega Charizard duo look? Both have weather, so able to switch them in, switch them out, and reset weather. And they both just complement each other so well. Charizard with such high special attack, and that Groudon with that bulk and the precipice blades, having access to that, and rock slide and a whole host of other moves makes it such a problem to deal with. And of course Venusaur and his team as well, able to make full use of that chlorophyll ability and that sunbeam up. Charm there as well could see come and be a problem. We saw Umbreon work its magic last week. We saw quite a bit of a stall game in that game 2 versus Newcastle Thundurus last week, but Meme really sort of flexing his muscles in that one. As soon as Charizard and Groudon came in, it was a no contest. Rotom Wash as well, something to watch out for. Not really a typical mon you would see in the sun, but because of that stab electric moves and levitate as well, means that you can get those air quakes off from Groudon, and it's not going to take any spread damage for that. Mienshao as well, a really great fake out user. Such a common Series 10 mon. Whether we see this week, I'm not too sure, but could be good for dealing with the likes of Lugia with its multi-scale ability. While at full HP, it's going to tank those hits real well. Dusknoir, Linoon, and the Wartortle rounding out this team. Dusknoir making its return to the British Pokemon League after Dave saw much use of it in Season 1. Over on Jabba's side then, that Mega Lucario really putting in the work versus Dogsy last week. He looked very down and out in that game 1 versus Dogsy, but came in with extreme speed and then just wrecked house from there. It was really, really strong, and it's looking very, very scary. And of course, Lugia as well is not 1 to 10. Knows up at. This thing is an absolute beast. As I said, with that multi-scale ability, if you're not able to get some damage done with it's going to set up a Calm Mind, or even just Aeroblast your face off, and then you've got some problems. Of course, something we see a lot of time as well is the likes of Volt Switch Weakness Policy proc into this thing, just because it can live a hit so well. Tyranitar as well. Whether we see it this week, I'm not too sure. With that Groudon being on the other side, I would be very scared if that thing came, but we will certainly see. Alola, Marowak, and Salamence as well. And we saw Escavalier with that Bronzor last week as well. Escavalier, such a strong mon inside a Trick Room. It's so slow and so powerful that Jabba able to really make use of it last week against Dogsy in that game too. Klefki as well, really put in the work with its Prankster ability last week with those Thunder Waves setting up screens. So love that thing a bit. Klefki, absolute done. And Jabba, I said, make a really good use of it. Serpuria, Kingler, the Lechinde, and of course the Bronzor rounding this thing out. That Serpuria, again, something to watch out for. Of course, its ability contrary, meaning that it can use, potentially use moves or have moves used against it that would drop its stats usually. It will get a boost to its stats. So it does the exact opposite of what you want it to do. And then if it's set up, becomes very, very terrifying. But without further ado, let's get into this one. It is Space City versus the Knight of Sidonia. Jabba leading the line with his Bronzor and with the Tyranitar, so obviously going to try and maybe get that trick himself. Has the Lugia, has the Salamence, the Mega Lucario in the back there as well, and over on the Space City side, he's got the Groudon, the Mega Charizard, Venusaur, Togekiss, Rotom Wash, and Wartortle. And it is the Venusaur and the Groudon leading the line, so again another good Series 10 duo. So as the Mega Charizard switches in, so seeing the Earthquake coming, and seeing the Earthquake coming, seeing what was coming, and able to switch it in. Earthquake goes out from that Groudon and it takes out the Tyranitar, so not risking the Venusaur just yet, but that Venusaur obviously is such a monster in the sun paired next to that Groudon. Again with that Chlorophyll boost can be really difficult to deal with. As Lugia now switches in, Trick Room is up for Jabba. So that's good to see. Can start doing some magic with that Bronzor, but sand is up, so it's reset the weather at the very least. But Meme is going to be able to Mega this Charizard right now and reset the weather once again, get the sun back up for himself, and that's where these two really come into run and become very terrifying. There is the Mega, comes out, Reflect comes out from the Bronzor, Calm Mind setting off the Lugia, the Thunder Punch into that Lugia, that is going to break that multi-scale button, obviously not doing anywhere near as much as the Flamethrower comes out from the Mega Charizard, takes out the Bronzor and is now a 4v2. Jabba in one hell of a spot as now Mega Lucario comes on the field, but not exactly what you want to see facing down in Mega Charizard, obviously with the sun boosted fire attacks. Mega Lucario not going to enjoy taking those, is about to get very crispy up in here. And obviously Groudon revealing with its Thunder Punch, that's going to be able to reliably deal with that Lugia even with the Calm Mind. As there's the Lucario, comes out, the Hydro Pump not going to do anywhere near enough on that Groudon even with the Calm Mind boost, while Sun's Up Rock Slide comes out. There's the Flamethrower, the Mega Lucario and Mega Charizard just putting in the work, just controlling this one, and Lugia now has to come out with the 1v4. And this game one already looks over and done with. And Meme just playing this one so well. I said that Mega Charizard is such a scary mon. Reflect, maybe not the one to go for well there, Mega Charizard with its special attacking moves. And not that it would have made too much difference with the sun being up, but something we've got to keep an eye out for is those special attacks. There is the Aeroblast that does quite a good amount of damage into the Charizard. Thunder Punch taking Lugia down to below half HP. There's the Flamethrower. Lugia on 1% HP now, somehow just about living that attack. I have no idea how it tanked that hit really well. That Lugia is so bulky, but I said this is going to be 1-0 Meme, making a really good start to life in the British Pokemon League. Such a scary team. He hasn't even had to reveal that fourth mon. Just been able to sit very comfy with that Mega Charizard and Groudon. Hydro Pump again under the sun, not going to do anything enough. Thunder Punch going to take it out, gets the job done. And as we move on to game number 2, Meme with the advantage on this one then, so not really going to plan that one Jabba, and goes for a different lead this time. Has the Bronzor and Lugia, so going to potentially go for a Calm Mind on that end. Bronzor going to look to get that Trick Ring up again, but no, obviously Bronzor running that Eviolite, so no sash, so this Charizard can go for its Mega again, set up its own Sun. That's going to proc the Chlorophyll on the Venusaur if he decides to keep it around, and that Flamethrower is going to get that Sun boost again, so this is not what Jabba wanted to face down in this game too. This is not looking too promising. It's going to have to pull something out of the bag, potentially maybe switch it in that Tyranitar and reset that weather. That the Sandstream can prove very useful, especially against a weather team like this one. And Mega Charizard comes up. There is the Sun going up. Sleep Powder comes out onto the Lugia, so Lugia put to sleep. There's the Flamethrower on the Bronzor. Bronzor goes down, and it is 4v3 advantage to Meme. The speed control is gone for Jabba, and now he's in a very difficult spot. The said Lugia put to sleep, so not able to get those Calm Minds set up. What has Jabba brought in the back this time round? Is it the T-Tar? I changed that weather round as maybe the Salamence, or the Salamence came round. I would doubt the Mega Lucario is able. There is the Alolan Marowak with the balloon. Going to allow it to not take any damage from ground attacks until the balloon pops. The duo is very frightening now, and the Sleep Powder comes out from the Venusaur, so Marowak also put a Sleep Air Slash comes out, does about half damage to Marowak. It also breaks that balloon. Lugia does at least wake up this turn, and Lugia gets a Calm Mind off for Jabba, so that's at least good to see. You can start maybe setting below a bit and letting Lugia do its thing. Power comes out from the Venusaur, there's a Lolamara, goes down, Flamethrower, not quite doing enough. Thanks to those Calm Minds and gets another one off. You know, with it being a full health, it turns out as Salamence then comes out there as the Intim. Not that it's going to matter too much to the Venusaur or the Mega Charizard. You know, both are special attackers, but Lugia at the very least has that special defense buff, so can tank a few hits from these monsters. Sleep Powder comes out again from Venu, and Lugia is put to sleep again. There's the Air Slash, but Dual Wing Beat is going to take out the Venusaur, so Jabba does get one on the board this time round, and there goes the Venusaur. But now in comes the Groudon, and this is not looking good for Jabba. You know, Groudon does, of course, have that Rock Slide. Salamence not going to enjoy taking any of those. There's the Air Slash from Charizard. Rock Slide does at least miss the Lugia, but Salamence is going to be taken out by that Rock Slide. It is now a 1v3. Lugia going for another Calm Mind as it does now wake up, but it's got one hell of a job on its hands now. That Groudon, he knows there's a Thunder Punch waiting from the sun, has at least gone, so no sun boosted fire attacks for that Mega Charizard. Number 6, so this has been quite a scary one for Jabba. Meme really showing the prowess of his team. I said this duo, absolutely terrifying. Who let Meme get this duo, right? Who let it happen? I want to speak to management. I'm going to do a Karen on yous. Can't believe it. Absolutely phenomenal stuff though. Meme really, you know, sort of flexing his muscles. There's the Air Slash from the Charizard. Thunder Punch can do some good damage to Lugia. A few Thunder Punches going to take out. The Air Slash does get the flinch on the Lugia as well. I am the management, exactly. So I'm going to just complain to myself about it later. This is a foregone conclusion. This Groudon going to be able to get the job done against the Lugia. Air Slash taking down 20. There's the Thunder Punch to take it out as Meme gets the 2-0 with a perfect 4-0 start. Goes 2-0 up in the league. No matches dropped. No games, dropped so far for Meme. Unbelievable stuff. You know, GG's to Meme and GG's to Jabba. You know, Jabba just could not get anything going. You know, that Bronzor just going down so early on in that game too. You know, not getting that speed control up, and it really hurt. I mean, you know, potentially looked in it for a little bit in that game 1, but you know, the Mega Lucario again, you know, it was always going to be his main damage dealer, and once that went down, and the Tyranitar went down turn 1 as well, it was curtains for him. And yeah, congrats Meme, you played that one super well. You're playing really strong so far, so it's really great to see one of the new boys really kicking on and playing really well. So we'll see what you do during the season. Pretty excited. And yeah, just to sort of reiterate, that duo is scary, right? I'm frightened. On to our 4th match of the evening then. It is the Swindon Rookadies versus the California Bastiodons. It is a repeat of the playoffs round 1 from season 2. Of course, Oma's Bastiodons getting the job done in that one. The Metagross putting in the work versus what was then the Celtic Celebies in season 2. So, you know, I very much doubt that Draco's enjoying the fact that there's the Mega Metagross this time sitting on the opposite end of the field. But, you know, Draco really put in a good performance in week 1. That Yveltal just pulling out the magic against Silver's team. And Genesect as well. Really putting in the work as well. Of course, with that download ability can be really scary if it gets a special attack boost. Technoblast can start really putting in the work. We haven't seen anything of Tapu Koko just yet, but you know, I don't know that this would be the game to bring it. You know, not too much weak to electric on that team, so I think Draco will be going fully for damage from that Yveltal and potentially the Genesect as well. Try and take out, you know, Oma with a lot of ghost and dark type weaknesses on that team, so that is the only sort of discreditation I would give to Oma's team. Of course, the Drifblim as well as that Volcarona. Volcarona, of course, can be quite useful with those rage powders. Run it with a sash, you know, it's at least going to tank one of those hits. You've got the Zygarde 10% Cottony as well, which we saw last week in the Cottony. It is basically just baby Whimsicott. This thing can get Tailwind and has access to a good amount of status drop moves as stat drop moves as well. So keep an eye out for that as well. Mr. Mime, Ferret, I remembered it this time, and the Monferno as well, rounding out that Swindon Rookadies team, of course, with that Mega Diancie as well. Haven't seen too much of the Mega Diancie just yet. You know, it's been taken out pretty quickly both games last time around, so we'll see if it's able to, you know, show its metal this time around. Over on Oma's side then, you know, losing out pretty convincingly to Aaron's team last week. You know, the Zacian and the Rotom Heat especially really hit that sort of setup real hard for Orma. Just had no answer for it at all. So I would think Orma's going to look to switch things up. As I said earlier in the show, this guy got third in the British Pokemon League playoffs in Season 2. So just because it may look like he's built a quote-unquote dumb team, do not write this guy off. You know, he's got a very strong team there, you know. That Solgaleo is a monster, and of course Mega Metagross as well. If this thing has speed control, can get very scary without that Tough Claws ability. Jirachi as well is a good little, you know, it's a good little support one. It's of course 100 stats across the board with Follow Me as well. Blacephalon, the Bulu Boys Dream Boy from last season. This thing, you know, you let it get a mind blown off, and God help you is all I would say. And Garchomp as well, another one of my former boyos. Really great to see that one. We haven't seen too much of it yet, but maybe could look to bring it in this one, you know, just change things up. Chandelure and Aerodactyl, you know, two of Orma's favourites in there as well. You know, it's great to see Orma get some of his favourite mons back. You know, it's one thing you want to try and do with Draft League is use mons that you use a lot and that you like using as well. You know, it's they're comfortable with, you know, that you know the most and, you know, you can get the most out of. Comfort as well, you know, it didn't quite get the work done against Aaron last week, but, you know, this thing, if it's able to tank it can just keep alive something like that Solgaleo or Mega Metagross with that floral healing, of course that triage ability, meaning that its healing moves get 3 times priority. Railu as well, of course, has Prankster as well. Didn't really see a lot of it last season, so be interested to see if Orma brings it. And Basculin and Charjabug rounding out that team. So can Orma get one on the board? Is Draco about a fair not so well against his old enemy? We will certainly see as we take a look at this next game. It is the Swindon Rookies versus the California Bastion. So very much the team we would be expecting from Orma. It is the Comfort, the Mega Metagross, Chandelure, Solgaleo, Aerodactyl, and Jirachi. And over on Draco's side, he's got the Cottony, the Ferret, the Drifblim, the Yveltal, Genesect, and the Diancie. So Draco leading the line with that Cottony and Mega Diancie. Of course, Cottony can get Tailwind up and get speed control, but of course have to be careful because that Aerodactyl facing him down can also get Tailwind up. This thing is super fast, and Mega Metagross is not as slow as you would think, so gotta watch out for that. Mega Diancie is going to be weak to those steel type attacks as well, so really got to be careful for that. Typically, Orma has been running that Aerodactyl with Sash in the past. Of course, good switch up. There's a Metagross goes just Mega as well as Diancie. Diancie comes out with that Protect. The Protect on the side of Orma as well, and there goes Tailwind. And, well, not a lot happening in that time. 3 Protects and a Tailwind. And the height of excitement in the British Pokemon League right here in this matchup. But both Megas up at the very least. And Tailwind up on Draco's side. So, you know, will potentially be going before this Aerodactyl then. So Aerodactyl may have to wait against Tailwind. The Helping Hand comes out from the Cottony, but the Bullet Punch, the priority move, takes it out as the Mega Diancie goes down. Metagross with the Bullet Punch. Priority, of course, with that Bullet Punch, and Mega Diancie just absolutely wiped off the face of this planet. And Aerodactyl does get its Tailwind up, and now this is looking very, very scary for Draco. That Metagross, you've just seen just how much damage that thing did. You know, I know Diancie's not the strongest thing ever, but it's not frail either. To just go down to that is wow, absolutely insane. Exactly, me. Yeah, I agree. The Yveltal comes onto the field now. Metagross not going to enjoy facing down one of that Dark Pulse, especially with that Dark Aura ability buffing those Dark type attacks. Yeah, for 40 damage that does. But Aerodactyl, as I said, has got its own Tailwind up. Helping Hand comes out from that Cottony. There's the Rock Slide from the Aerodactyl. That special effect, of course, that Yveltal's Thunder Punch takes out the Yveltal. Speed control fully on Orma's side, and just Draco just not able to do anything. And Yveltal not able to get a single attack off. Rock Slide hitting both monsters, doing a little bit of chip damage away at that Cottony as well. And Orma just absolutely running things here with his mons that he started off with, and both mons still on full health. This is now at the Genesect is Draco's last hope. I'm not sure that he's running any kind of attacking moves on that Cottony, but whether it's not going to either of these mons, I wouldn't have thought. So Protect comes out from that Aerodactyl. You're seeing a Technoblast maybe coming its way, just, you know, stalling that Tailwind. And once again, we have 3 Protects, and a Fake Tease comes out this time from Cottony, but Tailwind has gone on Draco's side. Fake Tease blocked by that Protect on the Metagross, you know, hoping to drop his special defense so that a Technoblast might be able to do the work. You know, he's got the special attack boost this time, but whether it's going to matter, you know, I think any kind of attack on that Genesect from that Metagross is going to do big damage. Tailwind comes out there from the Courtney rock slide, looking for those flinches. There's the Technoblast in the Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl taken down with Sash, though, so choosing to ignore the Metagross then. Genesect living at the very least as Tailwind goes down for all of the Tailwind is up for Draco, so has speed control this time around. If we can take care of this Aerodactyl, might be able to get something done, but I don't know that this Genesect can take down the Metagross all on its own. This is looking very much like a foregone conclusion in this one. Great stuff from Olma, you know, hasn't really switched things up from last week, but he's made it work this time around. Protect comes out from that Genesect. Text comes out from the Aerodactyl. Fake T is onto that Metagross then, and there is the Iron Head into the Genesect then. So the Fake T does at least go off this time. There's 2 more turns on Tailwind, so all of them potentially thinking that something like the Courtney might be running a Dazzling Gleam or something and just take that Aerodactyl out. Yeah, what is going? This is just a game of Protects, it seems. Not a lot happening in this. Well, a lot's happened, but not a lot's happened in 7 turns. There's been a hell of a lot of Protects, but Omen with all the kills so far is 2v4. Aerodactyl and Metagross still very much alive and kicking. Is this Technoblaster from the Genesect going to be able to do enough? That's not going for Protect, so could Protect this time as Aerodactyl switches out. In comes the Comfort, then Protect comes out from that Metagross, so that is going to indeed block the Technoblast. Flash Cannon comes in, that's going to take out the Comfort, so great read there from Draco. You know, either way I think was taking out the one that came in, but that Flash Cannon able to take out that Comfort, stop his Metagross from, you know, potentially getting healed up. Now in comes Chandelure, but this isn't good for this Genesect. You know, one fire attack from the Chandelure is going to really hurt, and if I was in HP, this Genesect is going to go down, so which does he focus? You know, you focus down the Metagross, but you're going to go down that Chandelure, or focus down the Chandelure, and Genesect is going to die to that Metagross. So this one is wrapped up on a bow for Oma, then Oma about to take advantage into this game, number 2. But yeah, great read from Draco, reading that the Metagross was probably going to be protected that turn. Goes for the attack on the other one. Protect comes out from that Genesect. There's the Fake Tease into the Chandelure, but only one more turn into Tailwind, and the Oma takes out the Courtney. Tailwind goes down. This Genesect is now a sitting duck. Great stuff from this Mega Metagross. Oh my goodness. What a phenomenal game for it. You know, after last week, it just got its absolute ass handed to it by that Rotom Heat. It's really put in the performance this time round. Really great to see from Oma. So looking very, very scary indeed. Draco going to have to try and change it up for this game number 2. Not quite worked how we wanted it to in this game 1. Does Oma have his number? There's the Iron Head. That doesn't matter. It's going to take it out. The flinch gets the flinch as well. Shadow Ball does the work, and Oma takes this one into game 2 with the lead. As we go into game number 2, then so Jirachi and Mega Metagross this time for Oma. So Oma is switching things up on the Aerodactyl, and Draco going with the Ferret and the Drifblim then. So again, also changing things up. You know, that Ferret does have, you know, access to Follow Me, so it's a good little support one. Can maybe get something set up with that Drifblim. You know, Drifblim does have access to a Ghost type move. You know, Shadow Ball is likely to do quite big damage to that Metagross. Metagross goes for Mega Follow Me, goes on the Jirachi. Sucker Punch fails on the Ferret, and there's the Thunder Punch, and that's going to take out the Drifblim, and oh dear. Drifblim goes down, not living a Thunder Punch like that, and now your Veltal comes in. So no speed control on either side, but there is a Follow Me on that Jirachi, of course, so that's going to keep that Metagross protected. But what does Draco do here? So he can go for Follow Me himself. He does go for Follow Me as well, so 2 Follow Me's. There's the Thunder Punch in that Ferret. That's still good damage down to half HP. There's the Dapples, but Jirachi lives with 1% HP. No Focus Sash on this thing, and it just about hangs on. What a roll that was. 99% HP damage that did, and it friggin' lived on 1%. Absolute scenes here in the British Pokemon League. You do not see anything like it in any other league. Protect comes out from that Metagross. Follow Me comes out from the Ferret. There is the Snarl. That's going to at least take care of Jirachi, so he gets 1 on the board, is now 3 apiece. Looks to be Life Orb. Your Veltal's now in comes the Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl may be able to just really get a Tailwind set up here, and then your Veltal is in a world of trouble, so no Follow Me left for Orma, but you know, Draco can at least potentially go for Follow Me with that Ferret. Just, you know, stop your Veltal from taking a very angry, scary Thunder Punch from the Goatee Man with the sharp claws. with Aerodactyl, a very scary opponent for your Velta as well, and those rock slides are going to do big damage. Probably not quite enough to take it out, but still it's going to hit real hard. 10 before. After last week, we had so many games go to like above 10, 10, 10. We've had like at least 3 this time around that have been over and done with by like 10, 5 or 6. It's been a complete change of pace, but absolutely great stuff this week. It's been some really fun matches. The Mega Metagross switches out, in comes the Chandelure, then Protect comes out from the Yveltal. There's the Follow Me from the Ferret Rock Slide, then into that Ferret, going to do a little bit of chip damage away. But either way, the Follow Me wouldn't have mattered. It's just a good Protect there from Draco, but now Chandelure sits opposing him. Not too sure on the switch in there, but I mean, either way, he's maybe just looking to protect that Metagross and try and get a Tailwind up for that Aerodactyl. Protect comes out from the Chandelure, going to block any kind of Snarl or Dapples. There's the Rock Slide, gets a crit on your Velvet, and it's going to take out the Ferret this time. Dapples blocked by that Protect. And now in comes the Genesect. Aerodactyl not going for the Tailwind again, but that was a good time for it, you know, getting the critical hit on the Yveltal as well. Protect comes out from that Yveltal. There is the Tailwind up now, and Heat Wave there. That's going to take out Genesect, and now Yveltal has it all to do. Oma's going to take this one. Draco, his old enemy Oma, the one that knocked him down to losers bracket in Season 2 playoffs, not able to get the win. There is the Rock Slide to get the job done. Didn't even need the Mega Metagross in that second game. And Oma gets his first win on the board. So GG's to both coaches. Just, wow, that went from 0 to 100 in a 10. Basically, that Mega Metagross bullet punched Orchard, the Mega Diancie. I mean, wow. I think Oma did just put everyone on notice. I think a lot of people were you know, really not putting high expectations on this team. There is, of course, still plenty of Pokemon left to play. But, you know, that was a really solid game from Oma. Just knew exactly what he needed to do to beat his opponent. And, you know, great move pool on that Mega Metagross as well. And Aerodactyl just running alongside it, I mean, is terrifying. So great stuff there from Oma. And I said GG's to both guys. Oma getting his first win of the season. But on to our final game of Week 2. It is the Inglorious Surfers taking on the Newcastle Thundurus. Another one like Latvian and Silly's Long Island Goomys Miami Heat. These two have been around since Season 1 and they've had quite a few clashes in that time. But as you can see, they're all tied up in the head-to-head record. Dave took both matches in Season 1 versus our Inglorious Surfers. And in Season 2, it was a complete role reversal. Aaron taking both matches against Dave's Newcastle Thundurus. So all to play for on this one. Either side could take the head-to-head record. But of course, Aaron, you know, making an incredibly strong start in his defense of the British Pokemon League crown, our Season 2 champion, winning out against Oma's Bastiodons in Week 1 with a 2-0 fashion. Dave's Newcastle Thundurus not able to get anything going against that very scary duo of Charizard and Groudon against Meme, losing out to 2-0 to him. So Dave's going to look to try and get one on the board this week and try and get things going in the British Pokemon League. Obviously made not a great start last season, so we'll be looking to improve on that. On Aaron's side then, need I say more about that Zacian crown? This thing is an absolute monster. You know, it was able last week, just able to position it next to that Rotom Heat, and you know, what do? You don't want to sit there and ignore this Zacian crown, but at the same time, you know, you've got to do something with it, and that Rotom Heat's just able to sit next to it and get a nasty plot off. And once that thing gets the special attack boost, it is very scary. And of course, Zacian has access to Substitute as well. That makes it even more of a monster. Aaron, of course, with the Mega Aerodactyl as well. You know, as we just saw how good Aerodactyl was in that previous game. Do not write this thing off. This is a very good Mega, and Aaron very much knows how to use it. It's a strong one. Of course, Marshadow as well. We saw a little bit of that last week, as you know, it has that Technician ability, so the likes of the Shadow Sneak can really hit hard. Will they be able to make use of it this week or not? We will certainly see. Let it call out as well as the fourth one for Aaron's Surfers. I would very much think we're going to see this thing a little bit further down the line, you know, maybe into another rain team alongside that Pelipper, so keep an eye out for that one. Rotom Heat. This thing is second in our kills leaderboard, really put in on a clinic last week against Oma. Just nasty button all over the place, just Oma having absolutely no answer to this thing, so Dave going to have to very much be careful of that Rotom Heat. And of course, the Galarian Zapdos there as well with its flying fighting type. Thunderous Kick with its signature move as well can really do the damage. Could see this week, you know, a lot of fighting type weakness over on Dave's side, so you know, likely to be able to strike some big damage on that side. Hitmontop as well, pretty much the quintessential support mon And in Series 10, you know, you've got Quick Guard, you've got Wide Guard, you've got Fake Out, you've got Intimidate. This thing does it all. It is just an all-in-one package. Such a solid pick for Aaron. And really, really good stuff there. Of course, we already mentioned the Pelipper. Got the, oh my god, I blanked on his name, but we're going to go straight to Marowak and Stantler down the bottom there as well. I can't believe I blanked on this thing. I was going to just call it Sword thing. Stantler, of course, does have that Intimidate ability, and of course has Sap Sipper as well, so, you know, it could be an interesting pick. Aegislash, there we go. Yeah, honestly, every week I have to be reminded of these Pokemon, as my brain is just like slowly breaking down. But of course Marowak as well with that lightning rod ability as well, going to be good to protect against those water mons. Over on Dave's side then has that Mega Sableye. You know, we didn't really get to see very much of it last week. Of course does lose its Prankster ability upon Mega Ring, so Dave gonna need to get the Trick Room up and Speed Control to be able to enable this thing to you know, go at its full potential. You know, that Magic Bounce ability can't be taunted, and could just sit there and just, you know, do what it needs to do. Of course, Dialga as well is legendary. Really put in the work last week against me. You know, was sitting there happily tanking hits. This thing is really bulky. And, you know, I think it's going to be quite a solid mon for Dave this season. Of course, the Incineroar as well. You know, the quintessential just VGC Pokemon overall. You know, Intimidate, Fake Out, Parting Shot. You know, Dave's very solid at running the pivot plays with this mon, so keep an eye out for that. And of course, with Ferrothorn as well, if Dave wanted to go down the stall route. And Suicune, we've seen running as very much a support, has, you know, those Snarls and has the Tailwind, you know, can get speed control up for Dave. Tapu Lele as well, we didn't see that last week, but can get terrain set up. You know, whether he wants to run it while Incineroar's kicking around, knowing Dave's record, is another thing. You know, the amount of times he's Fake Out and under terrain, it's not worth mentioning, bless him, but you know, it happens to the best of us, to be fair. Drampa, of course, as well. You know, maybe not to something that will come this week, but there's a lot of weather teams running around in this league, so Cloud9 could be really useful. Runerigus as well, sat there as the Trick Room user. Could see it, you know, a Sash Runerigus this week to get that Trick Room up could really work in his favour. Lantern as well, Dave's son, the prodigal son of Newcastle Thundurus, followed by Carnivine and that Probopass leading out. So can Dave get another win against Aaron? As Aaron going to continue that good record against Dave that he's got from Season 2 and get another win on the board? We'll certainly see, but let's take a look at our final match of the night. It is Inglorious Surfers taking on the Newcastle Thundurus, and Dave does lead the line with the Mega Sableye, and of course Incin is there as well, drop the attacks on the side of that Zacian and on the the Galarian Zapdos, but Galarian Zapdos does have that Defiant ability, so it gets an attack boost, but it does at the very least drop that attack on the Zacian Crown, which of course does get the boost from Intrepid Sword. So Dave going to look to go for that Mega on that Sableye. I would think a Fake Out's going to come from that Incineroar, but Aaron potentially going to be able to just go for the double protect here and stop that from going off. There's the Sableye, goes for its Mega, and there is the double protect, right, like we thought, detect and protect, so not quite a double protect. And Fake Out stop from that Sableye, and Flare Blitz stop from that Incineroar. So that's good information for Aaron. You know, knows what he's up against. As the substitute comes out from that Zacian Crown, there's the Flare Blitz, and the substitute is going to fade. There is the Thunderous kick into the Incineroar, and just not standing a chance. Quash not going to work with Sableye, and it doesn't have the speed control, so Dave not able to use that Quash move like he wanted to. But Incineroar didn't stand a chance from that Thunderous kick with that attack boost from the Galarian Zapdos. Now Tapu Lele does come in, and Psychic Seed procs on that Lele as well, gets a special defense boost, but maybe not what you want against two physical attackers. So it looks to be no speed control on Dave's side. I said no Runerigus, Samson's Mega Sableye, Dialga, already seen Incin, Suicune, Tapu Lele, and Lantern. On Aaron's side, of course, has that Zacian, has the Galarian Zapdos, Rotten Heat, Ludicolo, and Flippo are in the back there. As Lantern switches in for Dave, Detect comes out from the Galarian Zapdos. There is the Behemoth Blade into the Lele. It did not stand a chance against that Zacian Crown. Absolutely minced by that Sword Dog from Aaron's side. You know, this thing is just so strong. It's such a good Pokemon. You know, you've really got to have a heavy hitter to be able to take this thing out. So now in comes that Mega Sableye again. There's just Lantern and Mega Sableye versus the Wells. It's 2v4. Aaron's mons he started out with still kicking around. That attack boost from that Defiant really looking scary as a Protect comes out. It's a double Protect and a Protect and a Detect. There is the Discharge from the Lantern, so that's going to do damage to his own Sableye, and gets the Paralyze, and it Paralyze procs on his own Sableye. So absolute nightmare turn there for Dave, not what he have wanted to see. That is very much not a good turn from Dave. Very unfortunate on that one, and this one looks already to be over, you know, so with no real answer for that Zacian Crown, you know, it's good to see a discharge, might be able to get some damage away to that Galarian Zapdos, but there is the Protect on the Sableye. Behemoth Blade into that Lantern, not really doing too much with that. Is the Surf, you know, at least a good spread move. There is the Thundurus kick, though. It takes Lantern down to 4% HP, just about hanging on. But I think this is already over. I think Aaron's going to be able to take this one with a 1-0. Great stuff from Aaron. Fake out, obviously not going to work on the Sableye. I think Dave's admitted defeat with this one as the Lantern does go down. There is the Brave Bird into Sableye. Sableye just about tanking that one. And the two mons he started with just able to get it done again for Aaron. You know, last time round it was the Rotom Heat and Zacian. This time round it is the Zacian and the Galarian Zapdos. And there is the confirmations. Aaron takes this game number 1. And into game 2 we go then. So it's Instant and Suicune this time, so I'm going to aim to get some speed control. And this time Aaron switches things up a little bit, has gone for the Marowak and the Galarian Zapdos. Instant, of course, proccing that Defiant again, so maybe not the best thing to bring to the table for this one for Dave, knowing that he procced the Defiant last time around and knowing how much that Thundurus kick is going to do. Of course, Aaron's going to be able to protect this first turn out, just to stop that Galarian Zapdos from being affected by the flinch. I would think the Suicune's going to go for that Tailwind just and try and get some speed control for Div. There is the Tailwind, as we thought. Parting Shot comes out from the Instant then, so that's going to drop the attack and special attack on the Marowak. Maybe not what you would have wanted to go for, but of course it is Defiant Galarian Zapdos, so wanted to avoid buffing that thing as now. In comes the Lele then, so it's a good switch in there from Dave. Good read, does get the defense drop on that Lele, but there is a substitute from Marowak then. Psychic Terrain now is up, so Dave's going to have to be careful of that one. So Nosy kind of goes for any stat drop moves while that Galarian Zapdos lives, but instead does now have speed control, so Dave can maybe get a foothold in this game at the very least. Aaron just choosing which move he wants to go for. Detect comes out from the Galarian Zapdos. There is the Dazzling Gleam that is going to fade the substitute as the Scald, also blocked by that Detect. There is the knockoff into the Lele. Not quite getting that much damage away, but a good turn either way, you know. All 4 mons on the field still for both teams. A little bit less one-sided this one, so good stuff from there from Dave, from leveling things out, you know, switching things about. Needs to take care of this Galarian Zapdos though, and he's well aware of that. I think one Dazzling Gleam should be able to do it though, so that's something that Aaron's got to be afraid of, got to watch out for as well. Number 3 then. Aaron's still with the starting duo. Just deciding what they want to do in this next turn. Both coaches playing it safe. As Marowak switches as in comes the Rotom Heat. There is the Psyshock there from the Lele. That's good stuff. And the Scald from Dave. I don't know if that was a read or not, but takes the Rotom Heat down to below half HP. That does proc Citrus Berries, but that's good information though for Dave. I don't know if that was a read or just a really lucky play, but now in comes a Zacian Crown, and this is where it gets scary for Dave. You know, it knows how easily that Lele is going to go down to a Behemoth Blade. Really got to be able to try and take care of that thing. But at least does have a mon advantage this time round. If he can maybe protect that Lele and get something done with that, the Zacian. He's got one more turn of Tailwind. Got to be careful that Suicune now that Rotom Heat is on the field. You know, one T-Bolt from this thing is going to really hit hard and really hurt. Could see Rotom Heat go for the nasty block. There goes the Instant, switches in. That's a good switch in from there. Instant drops the attack of that Zacian. And in the substitute comes out from the Zacian Crown, and there is the nasty plot, and that's not looking good for Dib. The Protect comes out from the Lele into 10. Number 5 we go, so good. Cannot go for a fake out even while Terrain is still up, so has got to potentially go for a Parting Shot on that Instant. Tailwind is gone though, so it's, you know, has lost the speed control that he so desperately needed. That Zacian crowd is about to start going brr. Fast doggo, go fast. Let's see Aaron Man what the move he wants to go for. Woof, woof, exactly. Woof, as a certain Flash would say in Blackadder. So Aaron with his moves lined up is there. The Lele switches out, in comes the Suicune. There's a good switch in from Dev. There's the Sacred Sword into Incin. That's some good damage on Incin. Reveals the Citrus Berry in that thing. There's a Thunderbolt though that takes care of Incin. So it's good stuff there from Rotom Heat. Gets another kill on the board and now tied up at 3 apiece. And in comes Dialga. There's a Dave bringing the big dog to this one. Bringing Dialga. Very, very tanky mon. We saw how well it lived through those attacks last week, through all those stat drops as well, because we went into like 10, 20 last week. There is the Sacred Sword into Suicune, but tanks that. The Flash Cannon does fade that substitute on that Zacian, and Tailwind goes up, but Suicune goes down to that T-Bolt. It is now a 2v3. There's now Lele switches in, gets that terrain up again, but Lele, as we said, not going to enjoy taking care from that Zacian crowd. He needs to take care of that Zacian crowd as soon as possible then. Or Lele is in a world of trouble. You know, one Behemoth Blade ought to do the trick. And I think an overheat from that Rotom Heat is going to hit Dialga real hard where it hurts. Psyshock then into Zacian crowd, not quite enough. There's the Flash Cannon. Zacian just about lives, not quite able to take care of the Zacian crowd. Zacian crowd lives for another week. There's the T-Bolt into the Dialga then. And Dialga resists that attack at the very least, so lives to fight another day, but is now a 1v3 Dialga versus the well with the ulti. There's the Flash Cannon into the Rotom Heat. It's going to resist that, but it does drop a special defense. There is the Sacred Sword. Dialga just hang out, but the Overheat's going to take it out, and Aaron is going to take this one in a 2-0 fashion. So Aaron joining me and making a perfect start, 4-0 across all of his games, and is 2-0 up in the league. Speaking of Aaron, first of all, we're going to say GG's to both players. Played that one really well. You know, Dave just couldn't get it quite going in the game one, made a few sort of pretty brutal mistakes, but played it real well in that game too. You know, I think pushed Aaron all the way, and you know, came very close to taking out that Zacian crown, which I think would have really turned the tide of the game. So close stuff there from Dave, and well played to both players. But speaking of Aaron, as we said, we have got a certain Aaron T. Marshall sat in voice chat waiting for me to interview him. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to speak to Mr. Aaron T. Marshall. Aaron T. Marshall, how are you doing, my friend?
Hello, sir. I am doing very well. How are you?
Good. I'm very good, thank you. Very good. First of all, congratulations on the win over Dave. That now gives you the advantage in record versus him. How are you feeling that the season's going so far? Then I know we're only in week 2 and it's early days, but it's a brand new format, a brand new season, and obviously you come to this one with a bit of a weight of expectation after winning season 2.
Yeah. It's to be honest, I've been playing a lot of the Series 10 VGC anyway, so this is kind of familiar, but of course the megas coming into it is also like another factor, and international decks.
Yes,
but it is feeling kind of familiar, but there's a lot of like you know, like there's a lot of
different
Pokemon where I'm like, oh my god, what do they do?
What does this thing do? Yeah. You know.
Yeah, because oh god, it was one of Omar's Pokemon, but I was just like, oh jeez, what does it do?
Was it the Charger Bug or something that's just like...
No, I knew about Charger Bug. I really can't remember what it was, but I just remembered being like, geez, I don't know what it does.
Yeah. So obviously this season we are running, as you said, with Megas and National decks. So something very, very different to the table. How are you finding I know you just said that it's a lot to sort of take in, but how are you finding it so far? You know, how do you think people's teams are looking with all this variation of mons?
Yeah, do you know what? It's really creative. I love it personally because you've just got all these other elements to think about. Like you've got to think about what the Mega does, what its ability is. And then, like I said, you've got to think about all the other Pokemon that you're just not sure on and do a little bit of research. Yeah. So it's also good in that aspect that it actually makes you a better player.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. And obviously you can take your Series 10 knowledge into this, all you want, but there's so much more to think about as well that makes it just that bit more terrifying. So you've made the perfect 2-0 start. Is that how you wanted to kick things off? After winning season 2, is like was that how you envisioned it, or were you a bit worried going into this one with being such a change?
I was worried going into because I'm notorious for like losing my first turn, first game. So
Yeah.
so I was really like, please just win the first one, and then I'm happy.
As long as the first turn goes off and nothing goes down, you're like, I've broken the curse.
Yeah, yeah, truly. But yeah, it's to be honest, I'm just taking each game as it comes. I'm just utilizing the Pokemon that I've got in my team to as best as I can. And sometimes there will come a week where I'm going to be like, oh, that really didn't work. But at the moment, it's going
Yeah.
swimmingly.
At the moment, the things you're trying. I mean, I spoke earlier. Like that Zacian crowd next to the Rotom Heat is just like so scary because you can't ignore the Zacian crown. It's this big, scary,
Yeah,
angry doggo. But at the same time, you don't want Rotom Heat to set up on your ass. It's like I think it's leaving a lot of
yeah.
people puzzled on what to do. So you've built like a very solid team. So what was like your sort of thought process about building the team? Did you know exactly every mon you wanted to get, or was it sort of a case of I want these two or these three, and I'll just build around it?
Yeah, I think there was 3 Pokemon that I needed, and then after that, I kind of just picked the Pokemon that I thought fit in with those 3.
Right.
And the first 3 was Zacian, Pelipper, and Ludicolo. And then after
Ludicolo!
that, yeah, I had to get it.
Yes.
But yeah, so those 3. Once I got those 3, I was like, I'm actually happy now. So I'm going to sort of pick those Pokemon around it.
Right.
And funny enough, you wouldn't think that Rotom Heat would work in a rain team with Zacian, but evidently it does.
Super good. I mean, if nothing else, like it's not going to negate the fire attacks on Zacian, but also I think the Rotom Heat gets Thunder, right? Does it get Thunder?
It does not actually.
Does not. I was going to say that if it got Thunder, obviously in the rain, you're always going to hit with those. But if it doesn't, then
Yeah.
forget that.
Yeah. Actually, I actually can't remember.
No, I
It
don't
actually
remember
may,
either.
It may do.
I know obviously for sure it gets Thunderbolt, but I cannot for the life of me remember whether it gets Thunder.
Yeah.
No, oh well. So obviously next week you have got someone that you played twice already last season. You've got Draco, is Swindon Rookadies. How are you feeling going into that one? Obviously you must be full of confidence winning the first 2 matches. So Draco brings something a bit different to the table with his team. Obviously that Genesect and Yveltal, very very scary duo.
Yeah, yeah. Like each team is so different to like another one. Like there's no similarities really between any of them.
No.
So there's like a lot of different things that I've now got to think about against Draco, like the prankster Pokemon he's got.
Yeah, Cottonee, of course.
Yeah, and that Genesect, like you said, is a big issue. Yveltal is a really good legendary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got to like
a lot of thinking to do.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how good the Yveltal was in week 1 versus Silver. The thing was just dark pulsing everything's faces off, so it's not something to be ignored. And if that Genesect gets the right download boost, it's like, oh boy, this thing needs taken care of right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a great match between you two, though. I think I'm quite excited for that one for week 3 for sure.
Yeah. Regardless of what happened to Draco in week 2, it's he's still got a fantastic team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to very much go week by week. But as you said, because so many teams, every team is so different. I think the only common theme running through a lot of teams is there's a lot of weather teams, but I think that's very much just like Series 10, like sort of specific.
Yeah, it's very much.
It's something you see a lot of anyway. I don't think it's going to be hard for a lot of people to get some form going because there's going to be some weeks. I mean, just for example, I think Silly could have won it last week in week 1, but Silly's team just did not match up perfectly well into Crizzle's. Because Crizzle had so much spread moves. There's going to be some weeks like that for some players where their team just does not match up particularly well into the other team, and they're gonna have to try some really crazy strats and some different move pools just to try and get something to work.
Very, very much so. Yeah. Like I know the teams where I'm really going to struggle against in the UGA, the BPL. I know exactly which teams I'm really going to struggle with and which teams I'll maybe do better in.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the same for everyone. They can sort of see that there's going to be some teams where it's going to be like, oh my god, what do I do here? And there's going to be some where they're going to feel a little bit more confident. But it's still such early days that I don't think you could call it. But at the moment, obviously yourself and me making such a good start. So obviously the aim's got to be playoffs. So do you have any early predictions for who is going to make playoffs this season? Obviously this season we are running relegation because next season we'll have a lower league. So do you have any sort of early predictions for playoffs? Who might make it? Who might not?
I don't know really. At the moment, not really, because
it's such early days.
Because of I've been watching most of the battles, and seeing all the guys, and there's a lot of 1-1s at the moment.
Yeah,
and
there's
it's only me and Meme that have got a 2-0. So it's really hard to predict. But Meme, his team is terrifying. I think Meme will probably be up there.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people are expecting that. That team is looking very, very scary. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, because it's so close, in 2 weeks' time, the top 8 could look very, very different.
Very much so.
Just change in an instant. So, but I think it's gonna be interesting. Obviously, not running no reverse fixtures this time. There's no backup. You might think, oh well.
Yeah,
obviously we are gonna have mid-season break and obviously transfer window, but this time around there's not gonna be oh well I'll win them next time, and I've got the second half of the season I can bring it back. It's we've got 9 weeks now until playoffs, and you've got to get a good enough record to make playoffs. It's very scary, but I think we've got a very exciting season ahead for sure.
Most definitely.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, that's all I've got time for, Aaron. I do really appreciate your time, and again, congrats on the win. I do appreciate it. Good luck in your match next week, and we will speak to you very soon.
Thank you very much, Matt.
All right, goodbye, my friend. That was, of course, Aaron T. Marshall, coach of Inglorious Surfers. Always great to speak to Aaron. Of course, making that 2-0 start. Anyways, guys and girls, let's take a look at that league table then and see where we line up going into week numero 3. Let me just bring it up on the screen for you. Oh, hold the phone. So as you can see there then, Inglorious Surfers and Meme Space City both sitting atop the mountain, both on 2-0, both with that +4, that perfect match and game record. Followed closely by South Croydon Saws, Miami Heat, Long Island Goomys, Winter Rookies, California Bastions, Nicer Sidonia, the Tyrants, and Shadow Kings, all on that 1-1 record. So, as Aaron mentioned there, literally just could go either way at this point. So many people tied on record that in a week or two it could look very, very different. Of course, the Ninjas and Newcastle not making the start they would have wanted. Another difficult start of the season for Dave's Thundurus. And the Ninjas, of course, last season, the Bully Boys Ninjas making another 0-2 start to the season. So going to want to turn that around going into week 3. However, let's take a look at the schedule. I will find the right one. The schedule for week 3 then. So as you can see there, the Wobbuffet Ninjas take on the Long Island Goomys. So both suffering defeat in week number 2. So Ninjas are going to be out for a bit of redemption and try and get a win. And Silly... Oh, sorry, I mistake. Silly winning in week 2, losing out in week 1. Silly with that really big win over Miami Heat. My mistake, Silly, if you watch this back. So looking really strong against Miami. So it's going to be a difficult game for the Ninjas to win, but anything could happen in this league. So it'll be a close game between those two teams, I'm sure. California Bastions versus the Tyrants, both getting the wins in week 2. So that is going to be a close one as well. These two got very, very, very different teams. Obviously, the Tyrants, we've seen very much running quite a heavy stall element to that team, but running it really well and looking very strong for it. And Oma with quite a heavy steel psychic element, but alongside that Aerodactyl and Conveyor with support is looking very, very scary, so cannot write them off. Nice as Idonia taking on the Newcastle Thundurus. It's the first time meeting between these two sides, both losing out in week 2. Dave going to really want to try and get one on the board, before it gets too scary. You don't really want to start a trend of a heavy losing run. And Jabba, of course, is going to want to bounce back on that pretty convincing defeat to Meme. Space City then taking on Dogsy Shadow Kings. Space City making a perfect start, so already looking like a very, very scary team for this upcoming season. So Dogsy's got one hell of a game in his hands, but it's going to be a close one. Dogsy really proving his mettle in that game against South Croydon Saws. So take a look out for that one in week 3. With Winter Rookies, as we mentioned, taking on the Inglorious Surfers. Draco not quite getting the result you wanted versus Omen this week, but these two put on some great matches last season. Of course, obviously week 1 last season, took Aaron all the way to game 3, and the second time round Draco was able to get the win over the Surfers. So quite a bit on the line for this one, and Draco's going to want to get that win, but Aaron's not at the same time is not going to want to lose that perfect record. And rounding out week 3, it is South Croydon Soars taking on Miami Heat. It's another first time meeting between two teams, and this ought to be a very exciting one. Said another lineup where both teams have lost out in week 2, and as I mentioned earlier, Lat does not like losing. So Crizzle is going to be coming up against a very fired up Latvian. But that is going to do it for week number 2 of the British Pokemon League show. I hope you've all really enjoyed just there and enjoyed the show. Of course, we will be back next Monday at the same time, at the same place, as always, for week 3. And as you can see, we've got a lot to look forward to. I've been your host, Matt Starr. I will bid you all goodbye and farewell. Mwah! See you later, guys.